little anatomy of a demo video. So this is an updated version of the Collider Parade Advanced, and I just want to talk about the fact that we're adding in a entity field to the child collider. So most of the time you might have a node here which has got some sort of mesh filter, render, and physics shape. So the physics representation and the graphics representation are all on the same node in the hierarchy, with the physics body here as well. What I've also implemented in this demo is a little bit of a mouse hover, so whenever you move over a particular body, it will highlight that physics body in a different color. So here, for example, I move over this one, you can see that I'm moving over all of these bodies and they're changing color. But when I look at something like this monkey head here, it's actually a compound shape, and we want to easily add in the ability to get the child entity so that you can manipulate things very simply. So this demo has a bunch of different setups. In this particular case, there's still only one graphics one physics collider and one graphics representation, one graphics mesh. But because the physics representation is in a hierarchy here, you actually end up with a compound collider with one child. Now, whenever that happens, and let me just remove this for a sec. Whenever that happens, there is going to be a child entity associated with a collider. However, there's not going to be any mesh render associated with that entity. So when I hover over this, it doesn't have any mesh render that I can manipulate and change the color of. So in this particular case, what we've done is we've added in a physics render entity, so you can associate this graphics node with this this ultimately what's going to be a child in a compound collider. So now when I move over it, we get that association, and I can manipulate the graphics entity that I've associated. In this particular case, it's a little bit more complicated because we've got we've got a full hierarchy where we've got the physics shape, which is just the convex hull for the monkey head on the base node, and then we've got these horns with a right and left mesh render and physics shape. But because the physics shape here is on the same entity as the mesh filter, I don't need to go and add that extra association. So whenever I run this, I can just grab the child entity, and I know that the child entity has also got the mesh render on here, so I can easily get these two. Now, it could go further, where in this particular case I have, again, full hierarchy, but the hierarchy is separated, so physics hierarchy and the graphics hierarchy. And here now, whenever I look at the horns, it's just got the physics shape on it, so I need to add this extra little sort of component so I can associate this graphical representation of the horn with this physical representation of the horn. And here in the heads, we're building up the head with a number of different physics shapes. But each one of these then is associated with the same graphical head entity here, even though they're separate physics shapes. So the one piece then that's missing, so here we're getting all of the sort of sub pieces, and we're highlighting the horns individually, and then in cases at the back where there is no physics representation for the box here and the capsule and the sphere, we're linking them to the same head. Now, the one case that isn't supported directly at the moment is this case. This is a let's see, this would be the sort of one physics shape, but it's a convex hull of a hierarchy of graphic shapes. So in this particular right horn, left horn, they do not have any physics representation, because in the root node, the physics body is doing a convex hull, and this is checking through the hierarchy to see which mesh renders are active. So at conversion time, it ends up pulling in all of the active mesh renders to generate that convex hull. So if I go to this mesh render and disable it, for example, obviously the mesh render isn't there, but the convex hull also does not include that horn. Now, the graphical hierarchy, if you like, of entities will exist. It will still be there with the monkey head at the root, and then the horns as two child nodes. But this is only a single convex hull now, and it doesn't have any association with all of the sub-graphical children. So whenever I hover over this convex hull, it's highlighting the mesh render that's associated with the same entity that's got the convex hull on it. Now I could, in the highlight code, go through all the children here and change the horns directly, but that's somewhat outside of the remit of the physics package itself. And I just wanted to highlight the fact that the compound collider, the child collider inside the compound collider now has an entity, so you can get it very quickly. And there's this extra shape for, or extra component for sort of having this indirection here for hierarchies of children, or where there is an entity that's got a physics shape on it but no rendering shape.